almost like we do this every week.
It's like we do this every week. Hello, everyone.
We gotta record. Hold on.
This is obviously, we do this every week, but we always forget to record.
Oh,
Approve.
Recording in progress.
Chat, you're being recorded.
Are you ready to record?
Hello, everyone. Steve, thank you so much for the 4 freaking months. Welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to Vanilla Industries, Vaporpunk. Vaporpunk's always been the first one here. I don't know if you're just waiting on this page, or you got noties up really well. What is this little... I will kill you and all of your spawn. Sorry, do you know those little flies in the summer? They like live in your drain sometimes. We had a really big issue in the kitchen. But I think we have gaps in our like back door that I got to figure out. Anyway, it's really annoying because they're so small. And you guys probably don't see it, but I see it.
The little fucking gnat thing, the little fruit fly. I hate those things.
And this is why I wouldn't do well on Survivor. All right. Chicago, hello. Panda, hello. Dorkies is the highlight of my Tuesday. It's the nicest thing I've ever heard anyone say about a podcast. Thank you so much. Asian Skills, hello. Steve, again, thank you so much for 4 months. Ride the Dente. Amen, Ray.
Ride that Dente.
A well-oiled machine. Some things are going really well, and then at some point you gotta remember to record, you know?
Yeah.
There's always something.
So just a minor step, no worries. Wouldn't that be the first time I've forgotten? Good thing there's a audio of this on Twitch that I could download afterward.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
have you seen the movie Accepted with Justin Long?
I have seen the movie Accepted with Justin Long.
What's behind you that I can ask you about?
My wiener?
Ask me about my wiener.
Hold on, I gotta turn my mic gain down.
Oh,
I don't know which way is down. Is this worse? Is this better?
did I upgrade my camera? No, I just changed my lighting. Maybe that was it. I can also make you quiet. TOS
Probably
much?
good.
No. I refuse to TOS. We're going to talk about wieners every single episode because it gets us the views. People love the wiener jokes.
I don't know why. They're into them. I mean, I do too. I have a wiener on my backpack that I carry around with me.
Oh my God.
And I got a wiener. Indianapolis Motor Wiener Speedway.
Roger Penske, I know he's not dead, but he's rolling in his bed this morning hearing you say that.
His people sell this, so I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't want me to. It's even got a little ketchup and mustard on the top. Oh, it's so cute.
So we know one real dog should have won, which is the New York dog, but that's besides the point.
Is that right?
It would have been cute if they made, I mean, obviously this is a little too much of an undertaking, if they made a hot dog for each of the 6 wieners that were presented.
Sick.
So I can buy all the New York dogs. So they're like, wow, New York dog's really selling. And it's just me. And with my 1,000 units of Indianapolis Motor Speedway New York dog wieners. I went to the Indy 500 and all I got was this wiener. Hey, yo. Who would have thought the catalyst for World War III would be a rivalry between a Dutch race car driver who can't control his emotions and a British race car driver? Oh, yeah, we'll get into that.
I would have predicted it. I predicted it 15 years ago.
Fastlane Rachel, thank you so much for the 11 months. Hello, welcome back in, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm feeling good today. I don't know what it is.
Tuesday.
I don't know if I slept well, had some good dreams. Oh, we've been binge watching. I guess wow. Do you guys ever want to say 16 things at once and you can't because you have one mouth? I'm always fascinated by when I learn there's like a big part of, there's something that people are really into that I've completely missed the boat on. Because I think of myself as chronically online, and little niches. Like I learned a couple years ago about like the really strong knitting community in the United States and how they share patterns and all this other stuff. And then some manufacturer changed the way they make their thread, and people were upset. So someone else started. There was like a whole thing. So I'm fascinated to learn about like worlds that I'm not a part of. The Pokemon cards is one. Like I used to collect them as a kid, but now I know they're really big and there's a whole thing, and I see videos on it. So I started watching, because I was sick last week, so I didn't do shit, watching Survivor. And I'm talking about it in my Discord, and then so many people jumped in, and they're like, we've seen every single season of Survivor. We love it. I'm part of Survivor Fantasy Leagues. And I was like, whoa. Are there this many people who love Survivor? And I go online, there's a whole Survivor world that I was unaware of. That,
See, I think this is so funny because I consider myself, like, I'm chronically online, but I know nothing about pop culture. If you ask me if I've seen a movie, the answer is generally no. It is a miracle that I saw Accepted with Justin Long. So Chris was like, "You've never seen Survivor." So a couple years ago, we just binged Survivor for a while, and what a show! What a wonderful show. Did you start from like the beginning, or are you doing like the new ones?
So I started because Hulu doesn't have all of them, and
Okay.
so I googled really quickly about what I should do. So I think I did 16 first,
Okay.
which is favorites versus fans or fans versus favorite, whatever they called it.
Mhm.
And then I learned 17's after, and I learned that's one of the worst seasons, and we quickly learned why. If you sign up for Survivor after the show being on for 16 survivors,
Uh-huh.
there's no reason when you should. The first day you're like, oh my gosh, I hate camping. Where the fuck have you been? What did you sign up for? And then two, zero hustle in any of the athletic challenges. Like again, you've watched or applied for the show. And they also put you through like a mini Survivor boot camp before you go to the island, so that you have some kind of like general sense of keeping yourself alive and not killing yourself. And then there's people on these challenges who just don't try. And I'm like, why are you here? What is the point?
Just
I
to
was so
skim
frustrated.
along.
I'm so competitive, but like if I'm part of a team, like I'm all in, and I'm like, I will break my leg. Like we are doing this, and these people are like, ugh, I don't want to get dirty. I was like, you're in Africa. You're like camping outside in the wilderness. So what are you doing? What do you mean you don't want to get dirty? I was so
That's
mad.
me.
I was so mad.
They should put us on Survivor and then watch our friendship die, because I'm definitely that person who's like, I don't want to be greasy. I don't want to be dirty. I don't want to be sweaty. I don't like bugs. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing.
Yeah, someone's complaining about bugs. They're complaining like, oh, there's nothing to eat here. I was like, yeah, because you have to go fish. Like, they're not going to bring you food. What did you think this was?
I don't want to touch a fish. That's gross.
That you don't apply for Survivor, right? Like, that's just like
Yeah.
common sense. Like, I'm never applying. I'd be really good. I think I had the Amazing Race. I'd be really bad at Survivor. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't camp. I don't want to be outside. I know it. I know my limitations.
Yeah.
The challenges, though, if you can like tap me in for the challenges while I'm staying at the resort,
Just fly
while you
you
guys
in.
are like Survivor, all great, like done. But yeah, I was so frustrated. Anyway, we started a separate like thread channel in the Discord. A lot of us are starting Survivor from season 1,
Nice.
which is
Richard
crazy
Catch Gang.
which is crazy how different things were back then.
Yeah, the good old days.
I'm sure they intentionally cast people like that to watch them crash out. That has to be it.
You know what game I would be really good at? The Survivor show. That new Extracted one that they've got, where it's
Ooh.
like you send your friend or your spouse or your family member out into the wilderness and they have to survive, and then you just watch and watch them, and then you can decide whether or not to like take them out of the wilderness or not. I think I would be great at that, specifically as the one who
Watches.
watches and decides whether or not Chris should be extracted. When the answer we've discussed this, the answer is
Okay.
no.
Right.
He's gonna stick it out there.
Right,
forever.
you're gonna call him a little weenie
He's gonna
behind
get
the
that
scenes,
million.
and then
Yeah.
you're gonna never attract him. You're just gonna tell him to tough it up and deal with it. He's not gonna hear
Exactly.
you. But I can imagine you over the station being like, "I don't care, Chris. I don't care. You're winning $1 million for us and the
He's gonna
cats."
give me that million. He's giving me that million.
I just really think the Amazing Race would be so fun. I'd watch
so.
Ash and Elizabeth on the Amazing Race F1 edition, just 10 episodes of them trying to get out of this spa parking lot. First of all, I know how to do that with a media credential. Second of all,
With a media credential is a very important asterisk, I think.
just an asterisk right there. Throwback to the cringy IndyCar Amazing Race team. Who did that? Connor Daly and Alexander
Connor Daly and
Rossi?
Alex Rossi.
Was it cringy or was it good?
I thought it was fun. It was definitely cringy.
Why was it cringy?
Because I think Connor Daly's just cringy, like, in general. They started off on a poor note, but they weren't very good. They're both so stupid. I think that was the thing. They're both so dumb.
That's so funny. We need $1 million to pay for an F1 Lewis Ferrari hat.
Honestly.
Can we blame Survivor for the rise of reality TV shows and call it a day? But why is reality TV bad? Some of it's trash, but like, why is it bad if people are being entertained?
I think that we can blame the real blame here comes for the way that people handled the studios handled the writer's strike, because that's why reality TV has gotten bad and just like extra gross recently. Reality TV, fun. I don't see a problem.
Gosh. Because Connor's cringe and Rossi's like watching glue dry.
Alexander Rossi's so funny.
It's a dry
when
sense
you
of
take
humor.
him away from a camera.
Yeah. It's interesting that that happens to people. I remember when I did, essentially, I did videos for internal comms for a company years ago. And the whole point of this little show that we did that was only shown internally was to highlight people and their jobs. So, you know, I know people in shipping and IT, like whatever. And this is an aircraft manufacturing company. So I'd go to the shipping warehouse where we ship like all our airplane parts. And this one supervisor guy, you know, really outgoing. He's so fun. I see him all the time when I need something or just needed whatever. Talk to him about stuff. And then I'm like, oh, can we highlight you? He's like, yeah, absolutely. Really outgoing, funny dude. Everyone loves him. The minute we put a camera on him, petrified. Personality went away. My name is Christopher, and I work in shipping and receiving. I love my job. And I was like, what is happening here?
That was me for the longest time, but also I was just very introverted and didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, it takes practice, I guess. We would lie and be like, camera's off, you can just practice if you want. Or we'd just like shoot the shit and then we'd actually secretly record it. No one trusts me ever again. The Ricky Bobby effect, I'm the same way. Blink twice if you're being held against your will vibes. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was like, are you happy to work here? Is there something I should know?
Being held hostage.
At work. Terrible. Terrible. Oh, Secret Ingredient, thank you so much for the 39 months. I appreciate that. I'm so sorry to miss that while we were yapping about Survivor. I just love the theme song. A lot of things haven't changed from season 1, but then a lot of things have. Like, they were eating bugs in season 1, and they haven't really done that in, like, the newer seasons I've seen. I think they were competing with Fear Factor.
It's very funny how, like, after the first season, everyone who wanted to be on that show realized what they needed to do to get on that show, and were like, oh, we need to figure out how to, like, fish and stuff. And yeah, as Chris says, they give them more bailout food, too, so that they've actually got things that they can eat.
Yeah. Then they give him a ration of rice to keep him alive. Well, that makes sense.
I don't think they should do that. I think it should be Survivor Extreme. Figure it out.
Can we just start this as a Survivor pod? Just do a rewatch podcast episode? It's so funny.
We're back on Tuesdays talking about Survivor.
Oh, Naked and Afraid. Yeah, I'll never understand that. But they keep doing it, so people are watching it. Like, someone is watching it. I will not do that. You know what's a good one, too?
What's that?
The one where you don't extract, but, like, so, like, you and I go out, let's say, like, we're competing against each other, and, like, we can give up at any time, but you just have to outlast the other person. Someone was out there for, like, a year.
Wow.
Because you don't know. They don't tell you when other people leave.
Jesus.
I forgot what that show was called. That's crazy. That's like some psychological warfare on top of camping and surviving.
That's just messed up.
That is messed up. You just gotta hope you're outlasting everyone else with no communication. Poor camera guys are just like, Jesus Christ.
Come on, boy, wrap it up. Let's go.
Let's go. Get out of here. Sorry, which one were you saying?
About what?
I know you were about to say something about Survivor or Cops or Naked and Afraid.
Chances of me remembering anything are very slim. It wasn't important.
The guy I went to high school with was on Naked and Afraid. Was he afraid?
Was
That's
he
the
naked?
real question. Was he naked? That is so funny. All right, chat. Sorry, let me do something for the Instagrams here, and we will get started. If you guys can take a moment whenever you can, today or tomorrow, no pressure. If you listen to this podcast on Apple or Spotify, if you can just rate us, rate us, be like, oh my God, this is the best podcast I've ever listened to in my entire life.
Yeah.
If you want to, just an example of a sentence you can write. We would greatly appreciate it, myself and Elizabeth.
Please. Pinky, please.
Pinky.
Very pretty, please.
Our producer would be, I promise Chap will be less sassy in the chat if you write nice things.
No, he won't. That's a big promise.
That's a big promise. But now that I said it, he has to do it. I'm just kidding. No, he doesn't. Naked and Afraid is just me every night showering after work. That's so funny. One time I was watching it in the hotel room. It was entertaining, but probably wouldn't watch it again. Yeah, I'm not going to, like, voluntarily watch it. I feel like I'm exploiting people.
My favorite thing to watch in hotels is, oh my God, I forgot the name of it. Chris, what did I like? What's my show on HLN? Forensic Files. Jesus Christ.
That's a good one.
I'm having a brain fart today. I love Forensic Files. That's the, like, go to a hotel, need some background sound, put it on. Watch a murder get solved or not.
Chap doesn't know how to not be sassy. LOL.
It's true. He doesn't.
It's so true.
That's why I love him.
I watch River Monsters. One of my good friends, Riley, she watches River Monsters, and one time for trivia, they were asking about like rating the largest and biggest like fish or whatever from like certain rivers, and the only reason she knew is because she watches River Monsters. And I thought that was so funny. I was like, what a niche thing to have watched and then know the answer to this trivia question that gets us like second place and like $15 in a very expensive brewery.
I love that.
Give me the Hilton welcome ad every day. I do hate when the TV's on at the hotel room
When you
and
get
I
into
walk
the
in.
room?
I don't like it.
I don't like when they greet you and it's like, "Hello, Elizabeth." I just don't like that.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't like people to know things about me. I don't want my hotel room to feel like, I don't know, that it knows I'm in there. I just want to be anonymous. It's very weird.
Sorry, I finally posted the story that I've been working on since we started recording 2 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago. All right, let's get this pod started. I realize I've never said this to intro. I know you write and record our intros, but ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 50 of the Elizabeth and Ash podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
It's the big 5-0.
We're over the hill.
We did it, guys.
It's all downhill from here.
All downhill from here. I hope not. I hope we're only getting started. 50 too many H-cats?
Banned.
Instant ban.
Unmodded band.
Throw you in the trash.
Hugh.
Hugh.
We greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Tuesdays, listening to our pod that comes out on Thursdays, but of course the raw, unfiltered version here on Tuesday that then I get scolded at by our chat producer saying, you can't say that.
You can't say that. Stop saying that.
We're going to need to edit this out.
I'm not putting that in the podcast. You're going to get in trouble.
Also, our first favorite complaint is that we yap too much and he has too much to edit.
Sorry, King. You've got 20 minutes here at the start.
Thank you, chap. We appreciate you for 50 episodes. And 50 more. Huzzah. All right. Let's get into our rapid fire news. Elizabeth, please, take it away.
We have Max Verstappen being granted an FIA Platinum driver classification / rating thing. I saw a lot of crazy discourse about this. I'm going to be honest and say that I don't know a ton about the driver rating system for endurance racing purposes. But I will say that it takes like a half of a Google search to find out that drivers do not automatically get this license, that they have to apply for it. But I saw a lot of weird discourse around this for people saying like, why didn't he already have a platinum rating? What is this some kind of ploy by the FIA to like prevent him from racing? No, you have to apply. You have to submit an application, pay a fee, and then they will give it to you. And F1 drivers are automatically classified this way, but they don't always apply for this specific license because this license he's gone for is endurance racing. Ash, I turn it now to you to give further context.
Oh, finally. Oh, great. This is my moment of little random knowledge that doesn't really matter for anything till you talk about this for like 5 minutes a year. Driver classification, it's F1 drivers, it's anyone current and past super license holder are platinum rated. And as Elizabeth said, you pay like a €250 fee to be officially like in the FIA system as platinum rated, and you show up on the website, but then you can also ask not to be on the website for privacy reasons or whatnot. So that's a whole thing. But yes, there's platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. And what that means is it's driver classification specifically around, it can be used for any FIA championships. You hear a lot about it in sports car racing. Right, Ben Keating is a bronze driver. We'll get to that in a second. A lot of your factory drivers, like straight up BMW, Mercedes, are usually platinum rated. When you are watching a sports car race, like Le Mans 24, you'll see this coming up. When you're looking at a pro class in the GT3 category, that means those people are platinum or gold rated only. There are no silver or bronze rated drivers. When you're looking at a pro AM class, it means at least one person is a bronze level rating. Sometimes in GT World Challenge, when they say pro AM, AM also means silver, and I think that also means that for WEC. There's a different definition of AM. They try also not to use the word AM anymore, but that's a whole other thing we won't get to. The way you get your classification / rating, if you're a pro, a gold, a silver, or a bronze, is by obviously they look at times. So in October, they review everyone's. You can have a right to review and pay a fee to review anytime during the year. But around October-ish, they'll review people for classifications and such. They'll look at your times compared to other people in your category, below or above you, see where you rate, if you won championships. if you're a top 5 in a Tier 1 championships, which include V8 Supercars, IndyCar, any FIA World Championship, they usually automatically promote you to a platinum. If you win the NASCAR championship, that is an automatic gold, and on top of anything else, you get rated to a platinum. So Kyle Larson's a gold. Chase Elliott is a platinum. Chopper producer looked this up earlier. It's because he raced in a few other stuff after he won the NASCAR championship. So probably while they were discussing it, they were like, oh, he should get platinum based on his times compared to other platinums and things like that. It's all very subjective. It's also ageist. You get demoted a rating. I think they changed it now. It used to be at age 55. I think now it's 60. When you're age 60, you get demoted one level, and then every 5 years after that, you get demoted. It's around 55, 60, 65. It's around that age where they now demote you a level. So you can be very, very quick, but a bronze because of your age. Which people have brought up. Ben Keating, favorite bronze, and the joke is there because he's a little bit older. He's a bronze, but he definitely races at least a low-level gold, if anything. So he's a cheat code. You'll see him race in multiple teams sometimes at like 24 hours and things like that races because he's just so good. So you can win like the Pro-Am category because he's so quick, and he's rated bronze, and then all of a sudden you win, and it's like, oh, look at me. Ah.
Yes.
So
the main thing to note here, you have to apply for this license. I think this is the thing that I saw so
what do you
many
mean?
people. I open up threads and I see people like, why wasn't Max Verstappen already given this license? Why did he have to apply? Because you have to apply for a fucking license. That's just how it works. You have to apply for a super license. You don't just get one if you qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So Max does not just get an FIA Platinum driver classification rating on this specific license because he had to apply for it. So, like, he gets this because he asked for it. Like, you know what I mean? He's qualified to get this rating.
Right.
But he had to ask to get the license to get that rating.
Right. All F1 drivers have platinum, but they have
Yes.
to ask, right? They have to
Yes.
apply for it to make
Yeah.
it official that you
Like,
have platinum.
less than half the grid has this official license because less than half of them have applied for it. Most folks don't want it.
I think saying
don't need it.
license and rating is like, it gets confusing because a super license
Yeah.
is one thing. Like, you actually have to have a super license to
Yes.
race in Formula One. This is a rating, which is like also arbitrary because you don't need it in NASCAR, but like they also give you one, and then like, so so every single F1 driver can be platinum rated. You do have to
Yes.
apply to make it official.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That is the whole thing. There was no conspiracy against Max Verstappen
no.
to deprive him of this, which is
The moment he was racing in Formula One, he was platinum rated.
exactly.
He just didn't pay the €250 fee to have
Yeah,
it official on the FIA. You
submit
can
the
look up
little,
drivers, by the way. There's if you Google FIA driver categorization, type in whatever driver you want. You will see what their categorization is if they've applied to have it on the website or forever. For example, Chase Elliott has it because it's racing Rolex. I don't think he's done anything with it. NASCAR doesn't use it. Therefore, it's just Chase Elliott is just a platinum on that thing forever till he gets old and gets demoted.
We also, on the news, Rockingham Speedway is going up for sale after a very successful Trucks and Xfinity return this year. The key thing here is that they just underwent a $12 million refurbishment. So that, I believe, $10 million of that was state funded. So money coming directly from the state. No clue as to how much it's going to sell for, but it is up for sale. So if you guys want to get a pool together, I have like $200 that I could throw into this. I think we'll be fine.
So this refurbishment, we had a Trucks Xfinity return, and it's still up for like who? Do we think someone's going to buy it? Like the NASCAR? What is NASCAR? Oh, what company? Speedway? What's that thing called?
SMI.
Yeah. Do they think SMI is going to buy it?
Possibly. Could be like equity groups usually consider buying it. Other individual people.
Oh.
Yeah, NASCAR can buy it. SMI can buy it. People can buy it. I don't. There's a whole slew of options here, but I think the goal is just getting it off their hands. Because I believe it is owned by some like consortium group of people who just like maybe investing in this and then hopefully want to like turn it around.
Yeah, who else is going to buy an
money out
oval?
of- getting the money out of the VC investment. So Interesting that they went this way. There's a whole like website for it, but they won't talk about the price because if you've got to ask, you can't afford it, kind of thing.
There's a gentleman I followed who purchased or is looking to refurbish a track in Michigan. He mentioned that making it all asphalt would be like 1.2 or like an obscene amount of millions of dollars that he currently does not have. So it's currently going to be a dirt track, and he's working with the state of Michigan and the local mayor and stuff to like refurbish it, which is really nice. I think we know my thoughts about Cletus, but I think he's doing the same. He bought a track or refurbished a track. Yes, Matt Tiff. Thank you, Chap, and Chap can correct me on the Cletus thing. So it seems like the people are going to have to do something if we want to keep our racetracks. But Bellybeard makes a good point. It'll be a housing development in a decade, which is really unfortunate. I think there was a drag strip about a year or two ago that obviously land around it was cheap. Housing developments moved in. People complained it was too loud. Speedway closes down.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
We've seen this all over the country. So hopefully that is not what happens here, because it did put on some good racing, and I think NASCAR probably has some interest in making sure that it remains. But we'll see. We'll see. Also on the news front, Ed Carpenter Racing is suing former sponsor BitNile. So Todd Alt is the guy in charge of this. BitNile was displayed on the car from 2022 to 2024. The reason for this lawsuit is an alleged non-payment of a 7-figure sum. Todd Alt told Racer, "I sponsored the team for a couple of years, and in 2024 I didn't think I could really do much for that year. It was important to me that ultimately I had a path to ownership, and in its most simplistic form, they sold the team to someone else." That's the Heartland Foods people, so Splenda, Java House, etc. My deal was tied to the idea that I would have naming rights and I would have ownership, and basically the team was sold to someone else. Todd Alt does not dispute that they are asking for 7 figures, or they're definitely seeking 7 figures, he said, and I dispute it because it has to be adjusted based on the idea that I never signed the contract for 2024 because they would never put it in writing, other than in emails, that I had the path to ownership and to be able to partially name the team. So, shocker, crypto company involved in racing, lawsuits, who would have thought, who would have imagined? Not sure how it's going to go. Emails do count as writing in a lot of places, in a lot of courts, so we'll see how that goes.
When would we talk about crypto companies just being not...
When do we talk about crypto being a scam overall, just in general? Anyone who's ever tried to sell me on crypto, I've been like, no.
The problem is there that you open up the can of worms for everything else, right? There's no gold standard backing our dollars. I know there's government stuff, but like really in your grand scheme of things, there's really nothing that makes a dollar.
Yeah.
Except all of us just agree to it.
This is all just like, we made this shit up, and if you're gonna make something else up, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna subscribe to it based on, I don't know, I don't like it.
There's
a
podcast from NPR. I forget what the name is, but it's the title of the episode is called "The Island of Stone Money." And the way these people's work is these large boulders that are worth something, and they trade the boulder to themselves in the village. Like they never move the physical boulders because they're so huge. Oh, Planet Money, thank you. They never move the physical boulders because they're so large, but people just know whose it is and who owns it and who has their like right to trade it. Which is why, like, that's a crazy concept. It's a lot of trusting, but it happens to be that crypto. No one I trust in that goddamn space. We are not a small village where we're like knowing everyone. I gotta trust some doofus and a completely different IP address who's probably using a VPN to be like, trust me, bro. Your money's safe with me.
Absolutely not. No way, Jose. I just don't. It all feels like a scam. That's a story for another day. And finally, on our news roundup, IndyCar going to have an independent officiating board for 2026. So this is a thing that kind of exists in most other sports. Officiating board for things like Formula One. USAC has this, but this board that IndyCar wants to create is a governance board that will be unique to the series and distinct from all other officiating bodies. So it will not be related to the FI or USAC. It will handle race officiating, tech inspection violations, pit lane procedure errors, and more, and will be funded, yes, by Penske Entertainment, but is otherwise not affiliated. Penske is funding travel and expenses no matter what. So, my internet. Why?
I like how, Chris, you could just type in the chat. It's not like everyone's not seeing your notes anyway from my screen. It's so funny. Elizabeth got new internet too, which is wild.
Yeah. Apparently it doesn't work.
Just smack your router a couple times.
Ugh, brand new as of yesterday. They even had to come back and reinstall it. Ugh.
Atlanta officially renamed Echo Park Speedway. I thought we knew that because we saw that when someone took photos of it or something. But I guess it's official because they tweeted thanks Baritone. Do you want to say that point again? Does that matter?
My
Did you
point,
record it?
my back.
Oh no, the IndyCar official.
The IndyCar officiating. It is, in fact, funded by Penske Entertainment. Penske's signing the checks so that they can get to races, deal with things at races. Otherwise, it's not affiliated, but I don't know how else you are supposed to get that money to pay a board if you're not getting it from Roger Penske.
Oh my god.
My internet! Oh my goodness.
Well, what are you gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
As long as she got it for the recording, I'm fine with it.
All right.
Everyone knows the point. But then the thing is the router for cat hair. That's so funny. Then is it really independent if Penske's still paying?
I mean, yes and no. The question, like, where do you get the money if not from Penske? And ideally, like, we could use this, like, the fines and stuff from teams and whatnot to go back into this and fund it itself. But where do you get the initial funds? It opens up a can of worms that no one is going to like. But we will get more into penalties and whatnot that people don't like later because there's some penalties with IndyCar this weekend that I thought were pretty funny.
But first, we had to talk about the Spanish Grand Prix.
What did you think of the race? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. At minimum, usually, if it's a race, I'll give it automatically a 7. Because I like racing.
Yeah.
So it's usually a 7. And this one I thought was pretty cool. I thought strategy-wise, like Max Verstappen was trying to do some funny, like Red Bull Racing, the 3-stopper was actually working out. They were a threat to the 1-2 for a second with McLaren. Thought that was pretty interesting. I thought the backfield battles were interesting. Alonso, you had Hulkenberg doing well.
Yeah.
He did a Giga Chad move. He saved an extra set of softs from qualifying because he left it early. He's playing checkers while we're all playing chess back here. Look at this. But yeah, I thought overall it was pretty good. I don't abide by the rule that because there's chaos, it's better.
Yes.
Right? I hate that. I don't think the end of the race made my opinion any different. I would give it like a solid 8, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked the audacity of Red Bull, seeing if they could throw something at the wall and see if it stuck. The strategy, incredible. The strategy from Ferrari, as usual. But we ended up kind of in the same place as normal with an Oscar Piastri win.
Woo!
This is his 5th win of the season. If he gets one more, he will break the record for the most wins in a single season scored by an Australian F1 driver. So he is currently on par with Alan Jones and Jack Brabham, both of whom scored 5 wins in a single season. I have a good feeling Oscar Piastri will now assume that crown. So cool. I like seeing history get made, especially with Australian motorsport. History is always very fun to me for various reasons, just because it's its own little universe. So it's very cool to see.
Yeah, Oscar Piastri had a heck of a weekend. I think he also has now the largest qualifying margin of this season, which is a 0.209 seconds, which is, again, and I keep, like, I want to say, like, really liking Oscar Piastri because I think he has so much more to offer, and we're seeing glimpses of it. I feel like this is not his cap. He's still going upwards, so I think he's going to get faster and better and more Iceman-like and just methodical in his driving. And I just can't wait to see it. I'm expecting at least 2 to 3 championships from him. Yeah. And I'm pretty excited to see it. I just keep seeing like glimpses of like, oh, he's getting a lot better than everyone else, especially his teammate. He also said at his post-race interview before the podium, was it Terry Crews he was talking to, which I thought was really fun. He said that it was nice to bounce back from Monaco. And I was like, my brother in Christ, we bounce back. Everyone wishes they were you. You have a faster car, and I know you were in P1, and I love it because he's only fighting for P1 in his head. He's like, oh, I was on the podium, but not P1? Terrible Sunday. Count. Terrible Sunday for me and the team. And he's like, good to back bounce from Monaco, got P1, and then Lando Norris said it was a good weekend, but he got beat by the better driver. And I was like, damn, all right. We're all on the Oscar hype train. Let's go. Choo-choo.
We're on it. It was good. It was just a dominant performance again. Like not by 30 seconds, but you could tell that he had control of the race, that he didn't put a foot wrong. Just kudos to him. He's doing it.
His team also reacted well to Lando pitting. And I was like, oh my God, he needs to pit right now if he wants to get in front of Lando Norris. And they did. They were like on top of it. They're like, we're going to make sure you win and not Lando. And it won't be like that awkward situation where you have to like, I was like, okay, cool. His sister was also there. One of his sisters. And he dedicated his win on the champagne bottle to her, which was really sweet, which I really liked. It was just like, what a cool family. They're so cool.
I know. Oh, so good. Unfortunately, we need to talk about Hannah Schmitz. Because for some reason, everyone thinks Red Bull's strategist should be fired. And I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I'm going to defend this with my life. I will defend her with my life because, first of all, she's not the only strategist that Red Bull Racing has.
Yeah, that whole situation, I get it. We like to look at races and really analyze, and we have now a week before Canada, so we're like double clicking into everything. But you can also look at the bigger picture. This is maybe the first weekend Red Bull strategy has really, I mean, first of all, it was going really well to the safety car, okay?
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with it till the safety car, and safety cars just tend to do that. It would have been beautiful. We all would have been fine with it. And then the safety car just kind of pummeled it. They also have mere seconds to make their case. We'll go through everything that happened with the hard and soft tires and Max asking for new tires, but not realizing they were only hards, etc. Yeah. Everything's fine. She is also, when I say this when people compliment her and just criticize her, and people are like, wow, Hannah Schmitz, only Hannah Schmitz. Like, she's the best. Yes, she is. She's a really nice lady, and I love her, and she's so sweet. I follow her on Instagram. She's the best. Anyway, besides that, personal bias. There's also a team of strategists. It's not just her doing everything. She's the one on the pit wall, yes. They do rotate who's on the pit wall every single weekend, yes. There's also a group of strategists back in the factory. They're all working together about this. This is not just like a her, Hannah only thing every single time. It's so frustrating. So yeah, we can, I feel like just picking on Hannah Schmitz just is a little, it just gives me like, I don't like that.
Yeah, it gives me the ick. Again, I think you should all go read Bernie Collins' book, How to Win a Grand Prix, because this gives you the insight into how strategy decisions are made. And as she points out in her book, there are like hundreds of people at the factory that are analyzing every detail of this race. You've got someone who's watching like Lando Norris just to see what Lando Norris does, listening to Lando Norris's team radio to hear what he has to say to his team back and forth and what their strategy is and how they're doing. You have these people for almost everyone on the grid. You have people watching temperatures, watching weather radars, all this kind of stuff. Strategy is a process of inputs that come from hundreds of people, and you need that information to be able to make educated calls. You need this information to put together a comprehensive strategy that will get you through to the end of the race in a best fashion. There are people at the top of that chain who do make the ultimate call on what they do. But Red Bull decided this weekend that a 3-stop strategy was going to be their best bet for a win, because they did not expect anyone else to do a 3-stop. They didn't expect anyone else to make their 3-stop strategy work if they tried it, and if anyone was doing it, it was going to be someone lower in the field. They thought they had this on lock, and they did, right? Was looking great until we had a safety car, but you can't predict a safety car. I would like to also mention to everyone that if you go and you listen to the actual driver audio during the race, before the safety car, Max was asking for new tires. He was asking, when do we change? Can we get new tires? If there's a safety car, we got to change tires. He wanted that decision until he realized that all they had left was hards. Again, you cannot predict this kind of thing. He couldn't predict it. The team couldn't predict it. These things kind of get out there and happen. But until then, it was looking good.
Yeah.
When you have a team that is dominant, you have to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Because if you keep doing the exact same thing, you're never going to get anywhere. Red Bull was like, I don't know, they tried something. They didn't want to follow in McLaren's footsteps. And it just, shit happened and it didn't work. I do think if it was not communicated to Max before the pit stop, that all they had remaining for him were hard tires. They should have said something like that, but also, here's the thing on that front. First of all, drivers, they probably do know what tires are available and what aren't. But also, you're in the heat of a fucking race. If you're keeping an eye on tire allocation and knowing exactly what you have, I just don't know that that's going to be a thing that you're thinking of at that exact moment in time. If he didn't pit, he was going to be on used soft tires, so things would have been a problem anyway on the restart. He might have been in the lead, but he was absolutely going to be overtaken at some point in the near future by the McLarens, who had tires available to them when they stopped. You were asking Max to go, I don't know. None of this was going to work the way Red Bull thought it would as soon as the safety car came out. And they reacted and made a choice. And it didn't work. And Max was mad. That shit happens.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the chat that I want to,
yeah.
that we're going to dive in here. Kamikaze makes a good point. It's the same as Adrian Newey. Very talented, but they also lead an entire group. Yes, agreed. That's a really good point. And I also say that stuff about Newey. Everyone's like, oh, it's just Newey left, so Red Bull sucks. I was like, well, does that mean he's a bad manager? We have these discussions. It's not just him working on the car by himself. There's a group of people they lead and that have to come to this decision. So yes, it's a really good point, Kamikaze. Someone goes, it's his job to remember tires. I don't think that's his job. Could he? Yes, but their job is to drive. They don't get paid to do strategy. They can talk about strategy at the before and the pre-race thing. It's not his job to remember and do the math in his head. That's why they ask, how fast is Charles Leclerc going? When do I pit? I don't think I should pit now. There's a conversation going, and that's why you have a pit wall to tell you to do these things.
Yeah.
I understand we think that he should be held to some high standard, but drivers drive.
Yeah.
That is their main job. If they were also remember tires, great. But I don't think it's their job to remember what tires they have left.
Yeah. You're asking them to make decisions based on very small amounts of information that they have available to them in the car. They have more information available to them in the car than they've ever had in the past, but not the reams and reams of information that the team has available to them on the pit wall that is being filtered and sorted and ultimately given in to the driver. He knows plenty of things, right? He's a good driver. He's a smart driver. I also, again, he knows he has sets of tires. Does he know that he has no more used tires available to him? Does he know that the only thing the only thing he can get is hard? Does he know that for a 150% fact? I don't know that he does, because I don't know how many drivers know the sheer number of used sets of softs and new sets of softs and used sets of mediums and new sets of mediums that they have laying around. I don't think that they're keeping tabs on that, during the race. Okay, here's my new set of mediums. Tick that one off. Now I only have 2 more sets of tires that I can use. I think, I don't know. F1 drivers are better at a lot of things than most normal humans, but they're still normal humans. Like there's not they can't just like know everything off the top of their
You're
head.
also then he has to calculate what's used softs he's on. If he the
Yeah.
previous softs he's then you're saying he remembers how many laps his other used softs are on
Yeah.
for them to keep asking. I did
Yeah.
okay. If this is the expectation for him, do we expect that from every single Formula One driver as well? Because all of them
Yeah.
did not know. All of them were asking questions consistently throughout the race about this. So
Yeah.
if we're doing this for Max, fine. But are we doing this for every single F1 driver? Because
Yeah.
all of them have been asking, why are we on hards? Why are we on mediums? Why do we do this? Do we have this? There's all these questions that are asked every
Yeah.
single race. They could keep track. They do talk about it, but I don't. But that is not
Yeah.
their job to remember in the heat of the moment.
If you don't like Max Verstappen, you can just say that. Like that's fine.
I think there's an
But, like,
expectation because there's not a lot
this-
of tire stuff
Yeah.
to remember. But I think it's just like a little thing you don't think about as much as you think they do.
There's a lot.
You also
going
trust
on.
your pit to do the right thing for you.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
In before
I
Senna would know.
I just challenge you all to drive really far and do a road trip with like no information. Like
This is not remotely
you're,
the same.
you're relying on someone else to tell you when you need to stop for gas, when you need to like stop for service. You just assume that they probably know. You might notice things in the car, but like you have trust that someone else is able to like have your back on this. He trusted his team. It didn't work out. Shit happens.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I also don't think he knows the entire rule book. I think he just knows the rules he wants to utilize specifically.
Yeah. He knows I can put my tire here and I have like the right of way. That's the only thing you need to know.
The strategy is why there's a strategist to begin with. It's like a military unit. Everyone has a role to play.
Yeah. I expect my pit crew to also know how many tires Max Verstappen is on and how old they are and what to do with them. So I'm expecting that from them.
The thing I do agree with that DX said earlier is that when they said, "Hey, do you have new tires?" and they said yes, they didn't say what compound. They just said
Yeah.
yes, and I feel like that's a miscommunication.
Yes,
They should have
it
been like,
is.
"It's hard." Like, yes, you have new hard tires,
Yeah.
and that's it.
I don't know if they would have wanted to tell him that, but like that's a thing that you probably should tell him. He should know that.
Yeah. I think as well, new tires could not be overstated. Folks on newer softs were schmoving, as a la Nico Hulkenberg. Would have Max rather, and again, we have the luxury of discussing this now 48 hours later, and they had seconds to make this discussion. And you can't have this conversation with Max. You can be like, "Hey, Max, would you rather stay out, lose P1 to the McLarens, which is going to be pretty easy, and then potentially Charles Leclerc, and then have to defend and do all that stuff with your busted ass softs, or would you rather go out in P3 and hards, have to deal with them being warmed up and all this other stuff, and lose positions?"
Yeah. That's a lot to think about. And you're also taking into consideration the fact, can those soft tires that you have on the car even last the rest of the race? Or will they explode because they've run completely out of rubber? What decision, like what would you rather have? A points paying finish that's not a podium finish, or a retirement because your tires didn't last the whole race? You really don't, like, you're kind of stuck for options there. Just didn't work out for him. It did unfortunately also make him very mad and get lost in his red mist.
I think he was more mad about having to give the position back to George Russell.
Yes. I think he was annoyed from the get-go about the hard tires because he was like, what is this? I think he like got loose on the start, but he like dipped a wheel off. So I don't think he was fully with it. You know what I mean? I think he was just kind of mad. because that little like wheel dip off the track let Charles Leclerc go by, and then those two made contact, and then I think at that point Max is just like, "Oh, are you fucking kidding me?" George Russell just becomes the target of all hate and rage because he's like Max has just been driven into by Charles Leclerc. He's just been passed by George Russell. I think he made contact with Russell as well. And then Max like bypassed and got out front and then was told to give the position back. At this point, he's pissed. Like, I get it. But he then drove into George while giving the position back. Oh, Max. This is...
Yeah, I think, too, there are multiple things that happened at once that are all true. I believe Charles Leclerc did hit Max Verstappen a little argy-bargy, Hundo P. Max was going in a straight line. Charles Leclerc went over. I think that was a miscalculation. I don't think that was on purpose. George Russell tried to pass. I think he was trying to pull a Max Verstappen where he shoves you off, you off the track. Agree.
You can't do that to Max Verstappen.
Max is getting bullied by Charles Leclerc. Can't warm up his tires. And I think that was the biggest issue with the hards. Obviously, the pace isn't as well with the hards and the softs. We all know this. But I think the biggest detriment was the warm-up window that it takes for the hards and the lack of grip right at the beginning, which we saw in the last corner, which gave Charles Leclerc the opportunity to accidentally hit Max. Understood. So Max miffed by the hards, gets hit by Charles, gets pushed off and a little argy-bargy by George Russell. He's double miffed. Triple miffed? Excuse me. Triple miffed.
The miff keeps growing.
The miff keeps going. So he knows because he's done this before, not to George Russell, but what George Russell did to him, that he's like, I'm going to go out in front and I don't have to give the spot back because George would have to give it back, which is then later deemed true that he wouldn't have had to give it back and stuff like that, that the FIA say in the document. And then when he's asked to get the position back, I think now he's quadruple miffed. And then he does hit George Russell. The FIA have stated he has accelerated. They have seen all the onboards. And it was, that all of that window was frustrating for multiple reasons. And I think, of course, it gets blown up because we have Max Verstappen, who is Max Verstappen people don't like, and very polarizing figure. Then we have people's favorite, usually Charles Leclerc, and then people have feelings about George Russell. So it's all like, pfft.
Yeah. It was a very messy restart. There's no denying that. There's no denying the fact that Max, he made whatever choice he made there. I don't know what that choice was, but it was the wrong one. There were a lot of people who were like, well, why didn't Charles Leclerc and George Russell get investigated for their contact with Max? And I think they probably would have had Max not then collided with George Russell and created what a lot of people, including George, interpreted as a very deliberate amount of contact. George was mad. Max got a 10-second penalty for this, so that dropped him down to 10th place in the finish. But he was also given 3 penalty points because the FIA determined that whatever it was that he just did was very bad news. So now Max has 11 penalty points. At 12 points, you get a 1-race ban. But points expire after a full year. So we're getting up to 2 of those points kind of going away for Max. I will run through kind of where he got these penalty points so you can see they all kind of happened at once last year. He got 2 points for causing a collision with Lando Norris in the Austrian Grand Prix in 2024. That is when those points will expire June 30th. So if he can make it through Canada without getting a penalty point, he'll be fine. He got 2 points for forcing Norris off the track at the 2024 Mexican Grand Prix. 1 point for a virtual safety car infringement at the 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix. 1 point for driving unnecessarily slowly in the qualifying for the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix, which he got so mad at Russell about. Remember that he said that Russell's like a two-faced and whatever, and then George Russell said that he bullied him. So, already nasty. Then he got 2 points for causing a collision with Oscar Piastri in Abu Dhabi. And finally, his 3 points for causing a collision with Russell this past race weekend. He's racking them up. I think the last time we had someone miss a race was Kevin Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen, yeah.
And then before that, it was Roman Grosjean, I think. So he'll be joining esteemed company of former Haas drivers in getting race penalties. A lot of discussion after the race about whether or not that was deliberate, whether he intended to crash into George Russell. Max was asked if it was intentional, and he said, "Does it matter?" My brother in Christ, it does. It really does.
Yeah. It's gosh, I hate that we can't have normal discussions about this online because people are like, oh, you almost killed George Russell. Like, no, he obviously didn't. But we also don't want it to get to the point where if something were to happen to another driver that gets intentionally hit, be so bad that we then have to punish. We want to punish before it gets to there, so it's like a detriment to do that. Yeah. I was also taught growing up, and I understand I'm not in the heat of the moment facing G's and all this stuff, but even in fencing, everywhere, you're told not to be a sore loser or a sore winner. You finish out strong. If you're down by 20 at a baseball game and a softball game, you win, you finish it off maturely, and you walk off the field to be an adult. I just don't... I'm a fan of aggressive driving, that's fine. Intentionally hitting someone is just not cool. The next thing I like to point out is I understand we're all debating this, and then my favorite things I've been seeing. These new generation of Formula 1 fans are soft. Schumacher and Senna did the same thing. You do what you have to do to win. Rah, rah, rah. I'm calling this thing fact check. Michael Schumacher was disqualified from the 1997 championship for intentionally hitting. I don't understand why we think he got away with it. It is... He also potentially almost got in trouble in 1994. We just couldn't prove he did it on purpose. But we all know. We all know what happened in 1994. Ayrton Senna also got disqualified from the 1989 championship for intentionally hitting as well. So if we can stop saying that, and we only use these two drivers all the time. No other driver. Did you know Maldonado also intentionally hit people and also got penalized to hell and high water? Did you know Sebastian Vettel also intentionally hit Lewis Hamilton in Baku? We talked about this in Discord, and I greatly appreciate people bringing it up. So yeah, we've definitely punished people before, and we definitely should not intentionally hit people in race cars when safety is a real thing.
We literally just, it's just because we can see everyone's opinions about this, and we can hear everyone's dumbass takes, and we have to continually discourse about it on social media for 16,000 years in the future. I don't think, you can be a Max Verstappen fan and still be like, what he did was wrong. I have been impressed personally by the way that Max Verstappen has evolved as a driver and the way that he has been able to kind of tame that aggression. But there are these moments where it comes out and it's like, well, that's not an appropriate response, right?
Yeah.
You are not responsible for your emotions, but you are responsible for what you do with them. And being so aggressive on the track that you run into someone else is never an appropriate response for anything. I know that these cars are safe. I know that we are not risking, it's not like he's going to kill George Russell by walking into him. But we don't also want to fuck around with this kind of thing because you never know what could happen. What if George Russell loses control and hits the wall? What if he gets a concussion? What if he breaks a bone? You've got things here that there are still legitimate consequences that go beyond, that are still important, but are not being deceased. And you're also generating a lot of bad will. You're just not helping your case. You're not proving to other drivers you are a safe driver to race around, that you can be trusted, that when you're making an overtake, that they can believe that you will do so safely and cleanly. There are problems to this that are not involved in, new F1 fans are so soft and whatever. Fuck off. We can actually have a discussion about this. I
just don't remember. I hate that we do this as a fandom. Yeah. I understand that maybe I've been watching as long as that guy who commented it, because I've been watching since 2006, right? But we also hated those people who did that. We hated Sebastian Vettel when he was winning and driving like an asshole. I was just like, where did we, like, why are we all of a sudden glorifying these things that we definitely disliked as a fandom before that? And, like, using it as an excuse. Like, I just don't, bleh. I just hate it. So, yeah, Schumacher was disqualified, and so was Senna. So please stop using it. There's also the conversation of the role model part. We all know Senna's quote, if you don't go for the paraphrasing, don't go for the gap, you're not a real racing driver. The people now fucking abuse on iRacing service to just absolutely pummel you in an apex, right? This is the kind of, I understand that Max Verstappen and all these drivers didn't sign up to be role models for any kids coming up in karting, coming up and stuff. And just when you, the responsibility just thrust upon you all of a sudden, and I get it. That you didn't ask for it, but it's there whether you realize it or not. So people are going to see this and be like, oh, Max Verstappen can do it. Or Senna says to go for the gap, so that's how I'm going to drive. That's how I'm going to race. Those are going to be my justifications, that these people do it, that we throw these arguments around. I just don't want to have drivers in a couple new decades that are like, oh, I'm going to drive like this. All of us. And now it's just like bumper cars through the streets of wherever city circuit that we're now full of 30 race calendars in 20 years. I think we're all adults. I think we all could agree that he could have handled his anger a little bit better.
Yeah. Be a bigger man, Max. It's okay. Sometimes shit happens.
Just like Dale Earnhardt, people forget people booed him at his home race.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll looking at ugly. DX makes a great point. He disappointed me with that action. I understand why, but that's not an excuse. A bunch of F1 Austin Dillons, right. And this is why I think Max Verstappen should become a NASCAR racer. I think he would love it.
I think he would. I think he would be a master of like nosing people out of the way. He would absolutely shit rock people just because he could. It'd be hilarious.
But then you would also get in trouble, just like
absolutely.
people have gotten punished at F1 for intentionally crashing out. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on there. Ultimately, I just don't agree. Like, don't throw. I think someone put on my Instagram video about it. Don't throw your toys out of the pram. Because whatever. Yeah. Something I also saw. Folks ask why stewards get a lot of bad rap for investigating stuff after the fact. The 10-second penalty thing came a little bit later after the whole thing, and then the 3 points penalty on top of that for the intentionality of it all. Folks ask why it took so long, and I get it. I'm down to hate on the stewards sometimes. Fully on board. I would also like to denote that cars can only broadcast one camera at a time as chosen by the race director. The rest of it is recorded into the car's computer and then has to be manually downloaded and given to the FIA. They only had one camera they were looking at, and I believe that was George Russell's rear camera, so they couldn't determine exactly if it was intentional. I know we all saw it on TV. They are not looking at that. They have 20 cameras and a lot of corner. They have a lot of data to review. So I'm down to shit on stewards. No problem.
Exactly.
Anytime. But like, let's also give them a little bit of grace that they were then given the onboards they needed that had been floating around for us for right after the race for them to make an appropriate decision as needed, which is 3 penalty points, etc.
And they're also keeping tabs on the race action so that if anything else happens, they are able to respond as needed to that. They can't just sit there and say, all right, let's shove everything off and let's focus on looking at Twitter onboards of Max Verstappen and George Russell's contact, because they've got like 10 more laps that they need to watch on the track to make sure that nothing else goes wrong. They responded very quickly to the actual contact itself, so we didn't have to wait 1,000 years to find out Max got dropped to 10th. But when you are evaluating something like intentionality and penalty points worthiness, like, you really want to do a good job with that, because that has far-reaching consequences, such as potentially a race ban if he messes up in Canada. So you want, like, you need to look at 1,000 angles and make absolutely damn sure, or else the team is going to petition.
Yeah, Christian Horner's got a sprint house. So be like, look.
Yeah, exactly.
People were asking if it's enough. So Nico Rosberg saying that he should be disqualified. Black flagged as soon as he'd done that. Yeah. People are saying that the 10-second penalty not enough. Unfortunately, with all the things that I've mentioned, besides, I guess in the modern era of Formula One, or I guess post-millennium, it's only been stop and goes, 10-second stop and goes, 10-place grid penalties. This is unfortunately in line with the FIA has done for punishments for intentionally wrecking. Do I agree with that? No, but it is in line with what they've done, which is probably why they have done that again with the penalty points and the 10-second grid penalty.
Exactly.
Whether we think it should be more or not, I don't think you should be intentionally hitting people. I think that's absolutely wild.
Yeah. And finally, is this finally? No. We also had another big storyline this weekend. Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll, after qualifying, skipped the weighbridge. He was knocked out in Q2, where he set a time good enough for 14th. So he finishes, drivers then have to go get weighed, the car themselves, and make sure that they do not intake any liquids that would influence whatever. So you're supposed to do that right after. He did not. Lance Stroll went right to his garage. Skipping that weighbridge is enough for a disqualification. So all of us media were sitting there Saturday night, like, when is it coming, right? This is a pretty cut and dry. But the FI were really quiet about it. And then Aston Martin announced their situation where Lance Stroll's 2023 wrist injury was allegedly bothering him. And he is set to undergo a procedure, did not say what, prior to wherever. But I think maybe he could be back later this year. He's definitely probably going to miss his home race. However, the BBC reports that Lance Stroll skipped the weighbridge because he was annoyed and then was seen in the garage swearing at team members and damaging equipment. The implication here being that he lost his temper and re-injured his wrist in that process of damaging equipment. We don't know for sure what happened. We only have the official record is what Aston Martin has told us. But it would not be a thing that has not happened in the past. If you remember Lance Stroll shoving his trainer, sir, you can't touch that. It's gonna make noise.
Excuse me, the
Pizza,
cat has things to say.
Earbuds.
Pizza has things to say.
Excuse me.
Pizza has things to say, Elizabeth. May you let him meow?
What do you want to say?
Oh, he wants to make air biscuits.
Yeah, he's making little biscuits. You're so cute. He just gets lonely.
Oh, he can hang out with all of us. That's no problem.
Yeah. He just needs hugs.
So do I, Pizza. So do I.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Aston Martin, I think, officially on the record said nothing. What was their quote?
It was like his wrist injury had bothered him.
Right, and then
he went to seek medical advice directly after qualifying, and that was why he skipped the weighbridge. He ended up leaving the race, so did not race. So there's only 19 drivers, and he is not expected to be in the Canadian Grand Prix because of said procedure, which is assumed to be some sort of operation. We've got potentially Felipe Drugovich coming in to fill that seat. Felipe Drugovich is one of two Aston Martin reserve drivers. He was scheduled to go to Le Mans, but would skip that should that be the case.
Yeah, he said Formula 1 is his priority.
Yeah. He's probably getting paid a lot of money for it to be his priority.
I was also talking about this with someone else, and it makes a lot of sense. A lot of us were surprised that he would give up a win at Le Mans for racing in an Aston Martin, which, I mean, yeah, Fernando Alonso took it pretty well. I mean, was in the points. They've been trending upwards with that one car. But I think when you've worked your entire life, which he has specifically, to race in Formula 1, and that is what he wants, it makes sense that he would give up Le Mans. Because Le Mans, you can kind of race when if he keeps up the skill set, which is likely that he will next year, the year after that, you can race for a while in Le Mans.
Yeah.
As we know, sports car racing, age is not really that big of a factor. As in, there's a lot more seats in Le Mans than there are in Formula 1 with the politics and the money, blah, blah, blah. I believe Drugovich, especially with Aston Martin's backing, would get another seat next year and a potential opportunity. So this might be his only opportunity, knowing how things might be going for rookies and other stuff, to race in a Formula 1 race.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to jump on that if that is your life goal. I just think that Le Mans should be its own weekend, and then we wouldn't have this fucking problem. But I'm not in charge of the racing schedule.
Yeah, I want everyone to know that this is Formula 1's fault. Like, Le Mans has been on this kind of schedule for decades? A century? This is also Formula One's fault that we have 3 24-hour races in the month of June because they took the original Spa 24-hour date and then they had to shove it and then everyone had to reschedule and reshuffle because everyone races in each other's sports car racing series because that's how it works. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And let's wrap up the F1 race. Other talking points. Fernando Alonso's first points-paying finish of the season for P9. 2 whole entire points. Good for him. Nico Hülkenberg finished P5 for Sauber, which is his best finish since 2019, the Italian Grand Prix when he was racing with Renault.
This is Kick Sauber's best finish since 2022 when Valtteri Bottas was in the car for the MotoGP. This is wild. Also because of this, they jumped up 2 constructor championship spots against Alpine and Aston Martin. One guy did this. Imagine if both cars got their shit together.
It's crazy. And then we had Lewis Hamilton calling Spain the worst Grand Prix I've ever experienced after the race, to which Fred Vasseur responded, "Ain't no way that's true." So he said, probably not his worst race. Don't know what he was talking about, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, Lewis has been recently really rough on the post-race media stuff. And I believe another quote that I saw in the race that he says, like, I don't know, man, it has to be my fault, or, like, it's just me.
Yeah.
And I was like...
And then Rachel Brooks asked him, like, do you think the team is going to get this solved? And he said, no, probably not. So, it's not looking good.
Man, all our high hopes for Lewis Hamilton at the beginning of the... Maybe he's gonna shake it off.
Well, maybe next race, maybe by Austria, Ferrari are introducing their final upgrade of the season, which is supposed to be a more stable rear end. That's what both of the drivers have been complaining about this year, that when they get into a turn, the rear end starts to get loose and feels nervous, so that they cannot commit to a corner and actually race through it. They have to focus more on controlling the car and not crashing than being fast. So hopefully this upgrade will change that. Who knows? Probably won't.
Should probably consider putting brakes on the car.
No.
Yeah. What other talking points did we have? Oh, Kimi Antonelli has not scored a point in this triple header.
Yeesh.
I don't think we need to be worried, though. Everyone's a little nervous. But
I think he's just having a patch. He's a rookie.
2 of his races were mechanical failures, not his fault.
Exactly.
I just, like, what could he have done? And with even Lewis Hamilton having the worst Grand Prix ever, Ferrari is now P2 in the constructors, which is fun. I think we should pay attention to constructors more. I think I always say F1 is a team sport. You get the engineering, you get the drivers, you get the strategy, you got the pit crew. And constructors is really showing that right now. I know Lewis Hamilton is having a rough time, but Ferrari's showing that they're both drivers up there. And at least the top 5, sometimes a P6.
Yeah.
That's where the money is, Constructors' Championship. And I know Ferrari gets additional money for being a legacy team. So
yeah,
you can sell that to sponsors, to the board, to Ferrari. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, the car is not the best. And Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton is depressed. But we're P2 in the Constructors.
Yeah, that's not bad. This could be worse.
That's not bad. It could be worse. We can be P last. So I rated the race, an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
I thought it was good. The strategy was compelling. I enjoyed seeing what teams were doing. Keeping an eye on that. Pay attention to strategy more if you think races are boring. Unless it's a one stop, then I don't know what to tell you. So can't do much there.
I know. I just like looking at everybody. I guess I don't have someone that I'm like rooting for. Yeah. Right? I obviously have, like, I like Oscar Piastri, we know this, and I would like to see him do well, but if he wasn't doing well, I'd be like, oh, who's doing well? Why are they doing well? What's everyone else doing? Nico Hülkenberg is gaining 5 spots in the first couple laps of the races, then he gained all the spots on his new softs. Like, wow, that was really interesting. You're just looking at everyone. My poor Ollie Behrman.
What happened? Poor Haas. They just really are not feeling it this year.
They were trending up, and then, I don't know what's going on with them.
Out.
Fizzle out. That's really depressing. Okay, we can talk about this forever. I feel so bad for Haas. And Williams. Oh, jeez. Also, we're trending upward. We'll just chalk this one up for Williams fans. We won't talk about this one ever again for the rest of the year. This is the only one you get, though, which is the issue.
Doesn't count this time, but it will count next time.
But it will count. Let's go to the next race that was on Sunday, the Detroit Grand Prix for IndyCar.
We had Kyle Kirkwood win. Second win of the year. Took it at Detroit. All 4 of his IndyCar wins in his entire career are on street circuits. So this is a guy who knows how to race fast when there's walls. Good for him. We had our podium of Kyle Kirkwood, Santino Ferrucci, and Colton Herta. It was a big, like, kind of kerfuffle at the end where it was like, who's going to get the last spot on the podium? Is Will Power going to get there? Ended up with these 3. It was a wild race, 5 cautions, and a red flag for a variety of incidents. Felix Rosenqvist spun on his own and got going, but there was still a caution on lap 15. On the restart on lap 19, Nolan Siegel was bonked into the wall after making contact with Scott McLaughlin. Restart on lap 23, all the way to lap 68. Callum Eilont loses a wheel coming out of the pits and crashes into turn 1. On the lap 73 restart, Alex Palou was hit from behind by David Malukas and shoved into the tire barriers at the exact same spot that Callum Eilont went in. Restart a couple laps later. Then lap 85, Louis Foster's right front suspension failed, collapsed inward, and launched him basically into the back of Felix Rosenqvist because he couldn't slow down and he couldn't turn. It caused a red flag for the race because there was big damage repair, and Felix Rosenqvist was complaining of a hurt leg and had to be wheeled off on a stretcher. I haven't followed up on that. Do you know if he's got any injuries from that one?
I don't know. I know he was waving to the crowd, but he was complaining of pain in his leg.
Pain.
That was a crazy accident. They do have the onboard of Foster's car, so if you guys want to check that out on social media. It was crazy to watch. The sounds of I hate when they do like NASCAR ones too, and I know like they show it when the drivers are okay, but I just hate the
crunch. Lap 90 of 100, they went back to green. Kyle Kirkwood takes a commanding lead and then ends up winning the race. It's a good day for Kyle Kirkwood. Bad day to be Alex Palou, but since when does that ever happen?
I know he's for also a polarizing figure, but Newgarden also had a really good race, even though he qualified. Mm-hmm. He got up to the top 10, I believe, when he was qualified P24 in the back there. So Newgarden also had an excellent. He's gonna qualify better. Because imagine if you qualified well and drove that well and had the car obviously to get you there. Something was going on. If you're having the strategy and the attempts to pass so many people on the street circuit, a little rough.
We also found out yesterday, Santino Ferrucci was fined after the race. So, I've seen a lot of people like, why aren't we talking about this? Why isn't this penalty bigger? I don't think you have to like Santino Ferrucci to understand why this penalty was applied. And I'm going to walk you through it so that we all understand and are on the same page.
Okay, I'm a big hater, so I'm one of those people, but please.
The driver ballast, so drivers all have to be 185 pounds at least. And if they are not, you need ballast in the car to get to that point, right? So Santino Ferrucci, short little guy, he's not 185 pounds. You got to have the compensation in there. The ballast was 1.8 pounds underweight. This is why he is fined $25,000. He and the team have to forfeit their 25 points, as well as the bonus point for leading a lap, and they also do not get their prize money, but they get to keep second place. Why? Because the number 14 was otherwise 10 pounds overweight. So the driver ballast part, 1.8 pounds underweight, the rest of the car, overweight. So this is why we're there. Like, you can make the argument they cheated, whatever. I don't know that 1.8 pounds is going to make that much of a difference, but I am sure that it could, which is, hence the penalties, the fines. But it was still overweight. In general, competed 10 pounds more than he needed to, with the rest of the car being chunky. So I feel like that they penalized themselves on that front. So I don't think they need to get rid of their second place for that, because they screwed themselves over.
Whatever, man. They cheated. They should. No, Elizabeth's right. It's fine. I just want to be a hater. And I like your point here. The internet discourse on this one has been insufferable. It's, I hate that we can't have nuanced conversations anymore.
Like, by all means, be a hater. I don't care. By all means, right? Do your thing.
Thank you.
But be a hater logically and reasonably.
I think being a hater automatically makes it illogical, but yeah, reasonably is also, yeah.
I don't like Santino Ferrucci. I have never been here for the redemption arc that they've been trying to give him. I did not like the way that they discussed him in this race, as if he was perfectly fine and never anything happened, as if he was some stunning star who never got a chance, when kind of the big thing is he was racist, and was hitting people and using his phone, homophobic, and using his phone in his cockpit.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah, these are problems that should be addressed and have never been actively apologized for, taken into account, etc. But in this case, I think it's just that AJ Foyt, the team can be kind of dumb. I don't know. It's IndyCar.
Yeah, I think on the internet, we've talked about this before. On the internet, it seems like there's only one thing could be true. Things are black and white. There are multiple things that can be true at the same exact time, and people cannot grasp that conversation point. Yes, he can beat off a person. He also didn't cheat or do anything at a detriment to gain an advantage. If anything, they were at a disadvantage, and therefore, etc. So
they shot themselves in the foot. Again, as Chap mentions, this team finished 9th in points from pole barn in Texas last year. When you're like, I wish Formula One was like the good old days when Ken Tyrrell could build his championship-winning car from his woodshed in his garage. It's basically what AJ Foyt does. Like, their facility's not nice. It's just kind of garbage. And yet they do all right. So I'm not expecting surgical precision from them. And especially we're going to be clamping down on penalties, such as we had Scott Dixon and someone else, I believe it was Graham Rahal, penalized before this weekend for unapproved engine changes. They all got penalized. We're clamping down. This shit's gonna keep happening.
My next favorite thing that happened that Elizabeth has in her notes is that I texted Elizabeth, "Did you see Kanan and McLaughlin's beef on Twitter?" And she goes, "What? No. When?" I wrote, "Bruh, this is wild."
So you texted me this. I had just Lunchbox, our cat Lunchbox. Apparently, cats can have acne. I didn't know that, but I was cleaning out his chin where he has a whole bunch of blackheads, and then I look at my phone, and I get this message from you that's like, "Did you see the beef?" I did not see the beef. I was cleaning my cat's disgusting little greasy chin. So this harkens back to the contact that took place between Scott McLaughlin and Nolan Siegel that put Nolan Siegel into the wall.
Wait, I can actually bring this up on as people follow along the back and forth a little bit easier for this stream. Give me one second, homies. Scott McLaughlin. How dare you? Oh, no, screen sharing. But we're going to cover Elizabeth's face real quick with this.
Who needs it?
So it started with this. Scott McLaughlin tweeted over the IndyCar and Fox clip that says Nolan Siegel goes around after contact with Scott McLaughlin. Scott McLaughlin goes, "Misjudged this one. Old Maid broke quite a bit earlier than I anticipated. Good to see McLaren team principals are still on the hunt for beef. Good Ranchers has loads for you. Use code BREAKLATER for 100% off."
Pretty funny.
Tony Kanaan goes, "Misjudged last week, misjudged this week. At least you get weekend off to square that away. I came looking for your team principal to have a chat, but I couldn't find him. Oh, wait." Tony Kanaan, being the team principal of Arrow McLaren IndyCar Racing, came looking for his team principal, who got banned because of dismissed because of the IndyCar thing. Couldn't find him. A little jab there. Mm-hmm. Scott McLaughlin then tweeted, "Our team principals aren't usually on Twitter during the race, but you've got my phone number, mate." Because Tony Kanaan, this wasn't a response during the race, but he was during the race saying, "Okay then," in response to the same exact clip when it happened. Which is what he was referring to. And then Nolan Siegel also had a response.
He said, Scott McLaughlin, you have my number. We can talk about this or something like that. A very Nolan Siegel response.
People are looking that I can't spell. Oh, because I didn't spell Nolan correctly. Lol.
Nola.
Hello? There it is. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry, Nolan Siegel. It's not you. Oh, I also don't follow you. Whatever, dude. Exposed. Oh, I don't see it.
It was a response, so you probably have to click his replies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Classic. No, I also don't see it. Did you delete it?
Mayhaps he did.
Nolan Siegel, I mean, there was a screenshot that showed that he responded to Scott McLaughlin saying, like, you have my number, no need to, like, air this on Twitter.
Yeah, I got your screenshot here that says, can always give me a call instead of imparting your wisdom through Twitter hashtags. I have the screenshot, which you sent me.
Yeah, and then there's been discussion on this on Reddit and IndyCar threads and Twitter of, yeah, is it okay for team principals to chirp at drivers? Is it okay for drivers to chirp at other drivers and team principals? Like, do we, and I like your point, why do we want rivalry so badly? Why does everything have to be so dramatic?
Yeah. So like me and you were texting about this, and I am all for Tony Kanaan, the driver, being sassy.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when you put him in the principal role, the team principal role, I feel differently about that. And I think that's because he's no longer just representing himself. He's representing something that is much bigger than himself. He's representing a whole brand. He is representing a company that includes a lot of other drivers, a lot of other people. I absolutely respect and would hope that you defend your drivers, but I don't necessarily know that you need to do so by chirping on social media. I don't know. Maybe he just wants to impart some, like, Formula One-esque drama.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the difference between Tony Kanaan doing this, though, and then, like, Christian Horner and Toto Wolff being sassy to each other? Because they do it in person on media versus
I mean, I also don't
media.
like that. I also think that's wildly unprofessional, but, like, that's just my perspective. I think with Kanaan, it is the social media aspect of it. For some reason, I think when you're like, if you talk to Christian Horner after the race and he comes in and he says something spicy, it's like, well, this just happened. Whereas with social media, you have to, like, go out with the intention of saying these things. If Christian Horner says in his mandated scheduled post-race press conference something crazy, that just feels, it's like, oh, well, we got him in the heat of the moment. Whereas social media, yes, you can tweet in the heat of the moment, but, like, should you? I've just had a lot of complex thoughts recently about social media in general and how we should be using it, and this, like, comes into it of, like, should we be emotionally using social media? Should we be sharing our first and hottest take immediately without thinking of anything else? Like, should this be the way we represent ourselves? You know, I'm working for a company now, like, should I represent myself this way? How does that fall on the company that I work for? How does that fall on the people I talk to? Like, I think we could all be more normal and less fucking, I don't know. It's content, I guess.
Yeah, it's people go saying that he's an adult, he can do what he wants, blah 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 blah. I don't know. Do we need an? I am fine with us being fine with Tony Kanaan being Tony Kanaan, and I mean that was entertaining for us to be like, oh wow, like. But if we have to then apply that to every team principal, we have to be okay with that. I mean, I know we were giving DX. I appreciate you being honest with your opinion about Max Verstappen need to know the tires, and I'm fine with you thinking that as long as we all apply that to every single driver, and we give the same exact amount of, like, oh, he should be doing it, that's his job. But we don't do that. We seem to pick and choose who can be baby girl and who can be not and live up to different standards. Yeah. It's like Schrodinger's victim. Yeah. Depending on who we like, who we don't. And it's just like, oh, they're funny. Oh, no, he's a little mental health baby. It's like, which one? Yeah. Which one is it?
You can't have
Pick
all
one.
of these.
And that's my biggest issue with what's going on and how people discuss certain drivers and team principles. I'm like, no, I'm fine with TK being on social media, giving troll, being tough, being like, you can't get away with this. You know, if Scott McLaughlin's allowed to be like, oh, here's your beef, Good Ranchers, then why can't TK do it? And I understand there's team principles versus drivers, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's unnecessary. It could have easily been resolved over text or pit box chat. Sure. If we're okay with it, though, I want the same energy for when everyone else does it.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing. Like, I don't think I like
when
it.
Roger Penske starts tweeting sassy things, I want all of you to be like, yeah.
Ooh, Big Raj, get on the tweets.
When Chip Ganassi is on Twitter being all sassy, I want the same energy
funny.
being like, yeah. I heard my name. What did I do? Oh, you know what you did. No. We're just saying we're cool with having opinions as long as it's applying to everyone the same way. But HCat says Dale Jr.'s baby girl, and that's the T.
It's true.
Does Roger even know how to open Twitter? He probably has someone to do it for him. That's fine. If you paid me enough, I'll open his Twitter and do it. You gotta be sassy when you're Ganassi and Penske. Tony Kanaan is neither of those.
Yeah. I think this is the thing of like, how do we evaluate that? To what level do we do this? Roger Penske and Chip Ganassi have both earned massive amounts of respect.
Oh my god, HCat's bringing such a good point. Did you see this thing from Zach Brown, like official article from like...
Oh no.
Zach Brown said that drivers are too friendly to each other, responding to like the Alex Pillow saying how they go to dinner and stuff like that. Zach Brown said they're too friendly. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing you've ever said, Zach Brown. You said a lot of things that I don't agree with. What do you mean you're too friendly with each other? God forbid you like the people that you race against. I think
there's this misconception about drivers being rivals and hating each other. There have definitely been drivers that are rivals and hate each other. Don't get me wrong. I also think that like there is a common bond that you share as a group of drivers, where especially with IndyCar, where death is a very recent fucking problem that people have been facing. You're like nicer to each other because you don't hate each other. And you don't want, because you never know when you're going to see Justin Wilson or Dan Weldon lose their life on the track. I don't know. I also think you're just going to like people. Fucking Jackie Stewart and all of his buddies used to go out hanging out together, used to go on vacation together, get the families all together. Graham Hill, same thing. We look back and we're like, oh, I wish motorsport could be more like that. And then when drivers are nice to each other, we're like, no. Incorrect. Cannot happen.
Turbo, I appreciate this. That's good for motorsport. There'll be rivals regardless. Do you like everyone you work with? No, I don't like everyone I work with, but I don't walk into my workplace and I say, fuck you, Amanda, and like start this drama. No, I deal with it like a fucking mature adult. Answer her slacks. Don't go to happy hour with her. Don't talk to her outside of work. And then I move on. Mm-hmm. I don't like, they probably don't like everyone. Dude, Amanda's the fucking worst. She's so annoying. She's definitely like a gold star grabber. Like always like, oh, we had this due today. I'm like, no, we fucking didn't. It's due tomorrow. Shouldn't there be a pop quiz today? No, Amanda. She's one of those kids, you know, in school. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but yeah, I just shit on her on my podcast and then we move on like mature adults. Regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure not everyone gets along with each other in the IndyCar paddock, but you work together and you race these cars. Yeah. And you just move on. You don't talk to them after the race. You don't call them and say goodnight like Colton Herta did. You just deal with it because it's part of being an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be...
You don't have to be friends with everyone. Also, rivalries can just happen naturally, and that's what we need. We don't need to force anything.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to feel like I have to, I don't know. Do you remember Indy Rivals? That whole era where it was like IndyCar would post like clips of drivers fighting with each other on the track and be like, Indy Rivals.
There was like the fucking hate cauldron last year.
Yeah, exactly. Why do we want this so bad? Like, can we just... I, for one, enjoy that drivers like each other in IndyCar. You know what I mean? Like, I like that it doesn't feel like they all hate each other and that they can't stand being in a room together. Whereas, like, with F1, when they have their, like, post-season or, like, end-of-season dinner, I'm always like, I don't think any of these people like each other, actually. Like, I don't think they all drive Formula 1 cars, but I don't think they have anything else in common.
Yeah, and that's, like, fine. Like, always be nice to someone. Me and Elizabeth talk about this all the time. Personally, in the like F1 motorsport space, it seems that I have to be friendly with every single other motorsport content creator. People will be like, oh, did you see this? I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. I have my friends. Okay? And like I will be cordial to everyone that I meet in the paddock, in the garage at a race. And they come up to me, they're like, "Hey, love your stuff." I'd be like, "Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Hope you have a nice race day." I'm not gonna be friends with every single person you guys send me on Instagram. Please. I don't, some of us just don't get, like, I have nothing in common with these 21-year-olds that also create content. And it's a 32-year-old. And that is fine. They're fine people. They do their own thing. I don't care.
Yeah.
Good. I like more women in motorsports. I'm down with that. I'm down with them being in the paddock. No problem. I got no problems. We're just people who live in the same space.
Exactly.
We're all not friends.
I don't understand a lot of the culture and fashion influencers in motorsport. I'm glad they're there because that is absolutely a part of the series and the part of motorsport. And like, that's a thing that I'm glad people are connecting with and talking about. I don't get it. I don't know anything about that. But me and my merch and my Target dresses, I don't know anything. I probably cannot relate to this people, but I am nice to them.
Yeah, because
It's
we're
nice to,
human
like,
beings. When I
say
go
hello.
outside and I'm like in line at a grocery store or something and like say hello to your cashier, am I gonna be best friends with my cashier? We're gonna go grab drinks after she get like no. This is just interacting with the world, and I just like feel like there's a weird parasocial expectation with all our whatever we're going through at the same time. I will be nice to every single creator that I meet unless they give me a reason otherwise.
There's some people I just don't think I could sit through a dinner with, and that's coming from, like, I am an introvert. I value my personal space and my own time, and spending my time with people that I actually enjoy. Sometimes you can't do it.
Yeah, not every single motorsport fan has to listen to our podcast. Like, they don't like the way we talk about certain things, our discussions, our opinions, and that's fine. Everyone just finds their own thing. It doesn't mean they hate us. It doesn't mean I hate them. It doesn't mean blah, blah, blah. I feel like we miss that on the internet with these conversations.
Yeah. Again, no nuance. Everything has to be black and white.
They're not friends. They must hate each other. Rah! No. I actually secretly hate Elizabeth. Anyway, so.
Girl, same. I also secretly hate me.
No, Elizabeth, we love you. Sometimes I send Elizabeth the cutest little things because I'm like, Elizabeth, you're my favorite, and I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah, it's so nice. It makes my day.
We also had Nashville NASCAR in Nashville. Sorry, I ruined that for you, chap. Your joke.
That's my joke. Nashville car. I was really proud of that one.
NASCAR.
We had Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. In the Trucks race, Rajah Caruth checked his watch and decided it's not Heim time. He held off Corey Heim and Lane Riggs during the last 15 laps of the race and finished with a half-second gap. It's his first win this year, second win of his career, and a guaranteed spot in the playoffs.
I would like you to know that Rajah Caruth was also shouted out on ESPN.
Was he?
I know! It was so cool!
Oh,
Stephen A. Smith knows who Rajah Caruth is. Run! It's nice that he's getting his flowers.
Yeah. He's a nice boy. Xfinity, I definitely watched the end of this race, and I don't remember anything about it. Justin Allgaier held off Connor Zilic for a win, and that's my notes.
I did not watch Xfinity.
And then for Cup, Ryan Blaney finally had a goddamn motherfucking win. He's been so close so many times this year and has had the worst possible luck and the worst everything. But he finally made it happen. Denny Hamlin had a failure with his helmet hose and hydration system, so he had to finish the race without any air or water. And he sounded pissed when he was talking on the radio to his team. Is this a sign of a man who is considering racing for his own team? That is a thing I will be keeping tabs on, just because when he was ranting at his engineer, I was like, and Chris was like, you don't say that to someone. Like, definitely you hold your team to high standards, but that's a fuck up that should not happen.
Dude, he was a thirsty little guy. I can't even imagine. And hot as balls.
I can't get through a podcast without taking a sip of my oiter. I don't know how he's doing a race in Kansas.
He actually did pretty
Nashville.
well. I'm actually kind of sad
Kansas.
that I'm kind of sad that he lost. Like I was like, really expecting him to win at some point, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, by all intents and purposes, I think he had a really good race.
Yeah, it was solid. Carson Hocevar also finished second. He thought he had a chance for a win, but got stuck into lap traffic and couldn't make it happen.
Also kind of a menace. Which
Yes.
I'd like to have this discussion with Chant. Dale Jr. said this on the, the whole booth. I don't want to just call out Dale, but him and Dale have a fun relationship because Carson had a stream afterwards that he like posted about how he apparently when he was passing people, he like did like a little like sarcastic wave or whatever to him and Ross Chastain at one point were battling, and I was like, oh fuck me. This like I'm not. And the booth made a joke about it too, and I forget it was Dale or someone else, and I'm sorry, I always call it Dale, but he's my fifth. About how like Carson Hocevar has to still like earn his stripes, earn his spot. Like they're driving a little aggressively. He's got to clean up a little bit. And I think the booth is having this discussion, and I'm going to throw this out there. It's funny when it's anyone else that it's bad, but when someone else does it, it's Kyle Larson, and it's okay. I just think, okay, is Carson Hocevar have to race in the Cup Series for 10 years and then it's going to be okay that he drives like an asshole?
Probably.
Like where
he's gonna have to win more races. Like it's okay when you win races and championships. It's not okay when you haven't done that yet. Carson Hocevar is also 22 years old, so everyone's just assuming he's gonna have to grow out of it. Like they're just like his frontal lobe's not done yet, so let him keep cooking. He'll get there eventually. But yeah, I think if he wins, and that becomes at least a regular challenger for the front. People will start to be okay with it. I think it's shitty. I don't think Kyle Larson should drive that way. I don't think Ross Chastain should drive that way.
I'm giving Kyle Larson a hard time, okay? He just does calculated risk bad in math. I like Chap saying, in all caps, it's not okay to win races and be a dickhead. Citation, Ross Chastain's 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
Carson Hocevar does not seem to give a fuck about it. What he did essentially on Instagram was cut up fun parts of his stream into like a little highlight reel. And then essentially he just like doesn't care that someone's like Carson Hocevar is he's like, oh, you look like Carson Hocevar, and he's like, yeah, that guy's a fucking asshole. Like he was making jokes, and like he's funny. I think we should use his personality more. I know they had him on the pre-race show, and I know people don't like the way he drives, but I think he's good because he streams, he talks, he does the social media stuff. I like Carson Hocevar. Dennis Hamlin we're losing legal names here, made a very good point about how you can't cosplay as Dale Earnhardt in 2025 because racing doesn't allow for it. Things are just different.
Yeah. I think there is a certain level of respect that everyone has.
Sure.
That they should have. You should
be
able to race against the competition and know they're not going to do the stupidest thing possible. And I think that we get to you earn a level of respect if you're able to be a dick on the track and win races. And Carson hasn't done that yet, but I still don't think he's putting himself in a position where he's not gonna do that because no one's ever gonna want to work with his dumbass. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, he fucked me over once." Like I'm not gonna give him.
Yeah,
a push
that's the issue.
Like you're shooting yourself in the foot. I understand. Being a heel and owning it, but yeah, he's still I think that's the thing, is like he's still very young. He doesn't understand quite yet, and I think when he starts losing races in that fashion where it's like, oh shit, no one is my friend, no one wants to see me win, that's when he will have a change of heart.
You make a good point here that the Prime broadcast once again is a delight, and I agree, because for the first time in a long time I was excited to like watch. We even turned on the Amazon Prime early, which before the pre-race show, there is technically like a pre-race show, which like no one's talking, but they have cameras around the track and it like shows you like aerial views and things going on and them setting up. I was like, this is so cool. I loved it.
Just vibes.
It was so nice to have on the background while I was like getting snacks, cleaning up from dinner, and all this other stuff. That it was like they were just like showing you around the track and what it was like, and them getting ready was fun. And I don't know, I just really liked that feeling, and I was excited to tune in.
Yeah, it was a good vibe. It was like I knew I was gonna get good coverage, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying their like post race show where they
Yes.
have a drink a beer with the winner segment. That's it's nice. It feels more down to earth without like trying too hard to cater to a certain specific audience. I think there's this difference of like, I don't know. You see Dale Jr. and everyone on the broadcast having a beer with Ryan Blaney at the end of the race. I'm like, cool. You put Clint Boyer out to like go get drunk with fans, and then I'm like, this is stupid. But like the drink with the folks on the broadcast, I think is it shows the drivers down to earth, shows friendliness and personality that I think is critical, and also we get another interview with them. Um, the Coke 600, they dropped the viewer figures. Okay, so Coke 600 peaked at 2.92 million viewers. That is more than the 6 of the 8 cup races that were aired on FS1. It's not a record by any means for the Coke 600. There were definitely more viewers last year when it was on, and not on streaming, when it was on a television channel. But over 1 million people stuck around for the post-race show, which is huge. And the median age of viewers dropped by 7 years. That's big. I mean, I'm sure it has to do with the fact that like younger people know how to get to Amazon Prime and put the race on. But it's appealing to different audiences. It's a really good blend of like the throwback to the cool stuff we liked in the broadcasts of yore and a more modern take on that. So I have been enjoying it, and I'm glad that it is seeing success.
Once again, about 60 laps, no commercials, all the way to the end. Hashtag bless. Women won one thing, and it's no commercials in the last 60 laps of a NASCAR race.
Damn straight.
I am getting annoyed that the vocal minority on Twitter and Facebook are like, where can I watch this NASCAR Cup race? I don't give a fuck where you can watch it, okay? It's on Amazon Prime. You can figure it out. If you can figure out how to tweet angrily at NASCAR to put it back on TV, you can figure this out. Also, Amazon Prime is free for 30 days. You can watch all the races for free and cancel it before you have to pay anything. They also only had 6 minutes of commercials, and like I think most of that was side by side. I think Break Hard Blog did like the math on that, and 90% of it was side by side. Only full screens on some of the pre-race stuff and whatever. I just like don't. It's free. It's some of the best pre and post race show. We finally have the thing we've all been asking for. This is all we've ever wanted. And now you're bitching about having it, and I can't. It's so annoying.
It drives me crazy because we have everything people have asked for aside from the fact that it's not on cable, so they can't just tune in. Figure it out. It's the year of our Lord 2025. It's pissing me off too because it's like you very clearly, I'm sure these people know how to like do other things on Amazon, how to use other apps. I'm sure they watch Netflix. Get over it.
Yeah, that's my thing. If they're tweeting, I'm like, you know how to go on. If you can go on x.com, twitter.com, whatever which one you use, you can figure this out.
Exactly. You can use this. It's a good service. And also, if you figure out how to use Amazon Prime, you can watch the new Earnhardt documentary, which I just want to say is very good. I am a fucking hater when it comes to documentaries because I think they do such a... It pisses me off when
like
you just...
all documentaries or just like racing documentaries?
Racing documentaries where they gloss over like the bad parts of a driver to focus on the good ones.
Like, what did Animal Planet do to you? Jesus.
Fuck them. I can't... Like, if you've ever watched previous Dale Earnhardt documentaries, you know that they're like, he was the greatest guy ever. Yeah. He was a legend. And he was aggressive, but that's good. Like... This documentary actually hits at the fact of like there's a guy behind that myth. He was not always a good guy. He was often unfair. He was often cruel. He could, especially when they interviewed the kids, the Earnhardt children, like how they responded to their dad's success, what they wanted in their relationship with their dad, and often how they didn't get it. That was great. Like that, it was like this is actually context of a guy who lived a life and existed. It
was 4 episodes.
Like, 4 episodes. Yep. Okay. They didn't dig into like everything. I saw some people critiquing of like they didn't talk about XYZ things. Well, we have again like 4 episodes to get into this. I think they hit on the important big things and did an actual good job telling a story, which is the important thing.
Yeah, Canada makes a good point. I judge documentaries based on if I'm learning something I didn't know about it, and I absolutely bow down to earth. This documentary is. Love Dale Jr. in it. So that's a good point. Dale Jr., I think it was Dale who said this too. I swear he said something on Twitter about it, that people were asking like where his rivalries were, like all the stuff, and Dale was like, we have those documentaries. Like you can see that. There's all of that is already covered. This is something we've never really dived into like this. So...
Yeah, it was a really great take. They'd like dug into the family personal archive of videos that they'd taken growing up. You just like get a completely different sense of who this man was.
But then also their stepmom, everyone's favorite.
Yeah, Teresa.
So Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s grave is on property that she owns, and Dale Jr. cannot visit it.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Do we know where the loathing comes from?
I
am unfamiliar with like I know the hatred and like what she's done to make it difficult for this, and like can't even go to the house to like look for things and like visit his grave is insane. But I don't understand where the loathing has come to his children as being their stepmother / like this is crazy to me.
I mean, as a person who grew up with step parents, like my stepdad was great, but the women my dad dated were not. And there is this like resentment of like they want to be the number one sometimes to that person as their spouse or partner, and then the kids are like expected to come second. So like my dad definitely dated a woman who broke up with him, and then my dad told me I could be nicer to her when she wouldn't let me eat food and told me I needed to lose weight before I could wear shorts in the house. And that was supposed to be like a thing I should get over. Teresa wanted to send Dale to military school, Dale Jr. She had so much control over his legacy and who Dale Earnhardt Sr. was and how he spent his time and what he did and how he used his business. And you get kids who are like, well, I think I should be part of that. And step parents who are like, I don't think you should be. I think that just people are, relationships suck sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that this is how Dale Earnhardt's legacy has kind of ended up.
Handed the keys to the devil. That's what Turbo says.
Say lovey. Yeah, but it was really good. I highly recommend it. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to watch it again, which is how much I enjoyed it.
Like the Amazon Prime broadcast.
Amen. Thanks, Jeff Bezos.
Oh, God, no. I know we're on his Twitch service, but no. Make it stop. But if you do have an Amazon Prime account to watch this, you also have an Amazon Prime sub for this channel. Thank you so much.
Heyo.
Heyo. Use the Bezos money, please. What's on this weekend? We don't have Formula One. They are switching continents. They are going to Canada. They get a week break before that. So NASCAR at Michigan. Go Blue.
Woohoo.
MotoGP, IMSA Pilot Challenge, and NHRA as well. Oh my god, yeah. When is IndyCar race again? Gosh, it's so weird that we go to Detroit right after Indy 500, and then there's nothing else afterwards.
Yeah. This IndyCar's next one is Gateway, which is the same weekend as Le Mans, NASCAR Mexico, Canada.
RIP viewership.
Everything else in the entire universe you would want to attend. Gateway, I believe they moved the time, so it's supposed to be like an afternoon race. I think they made it a night race on Sunday to avoid an immense amount of conflict that is inevitably still going to be there.
God, Alex Palou has so many points, it doesn't even matter that he just fucked up. That the last race got messed up for him. That's insane. I'm looking at the IndyCar app, sorry. 311 points, the next points are 221.
Like Neomancer. News here in Canada that Montreal promises to fix last year's issues. As an F1 fan, I didn't know there were issues last year. There were. Fans got onto the track too soon after the race and flooded the track. So, like, after the race, you can usually walk. the Circuit de Villeneuve. I think the whole thing. I did the whole thing when I went. I don't know if I was allowed to, but I certainly did. But fans got on before cars had actually parked in pit lane, and that was a problem. Talking about leaky buildings and muddy paddocks. Yeah, also, infrastructure needed an upgrade, and they didn't do that, but they did now, I think, so.
It's going to be a long month of racing. There's Pikes Peak, there's 3 24-hour races, Nürburgring, Spa, Le Mans. And I said those in the wrong order. It's Le Mans, Nürburgring, and Spa in that order. Week after week, which is a lot of your favorite sports car racers will be in all of them, which is wild. There's also the 6 hours at the Glen.
That's right.
I do love Watkins Glen. There's also a NASCAR, I think 2 F1 races, IndyCar, Pikes Peak.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of racing this month of June. So if you have multiple screens and monitors, tablets, something, definitely utilize them for this.
You're going to want them.
You're going to want them. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us, listening and watching, depending where you're getting this podcast, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, etc. Thank you so much for discussing with us. We appreciate it. Elizabeth, what do you have this week in store for the people that you want them to know about?
I will have some pre-Canada stuff going up on Planet F1. I have some... stay tuned for all of my Canada stuff, because I've got a bunch of things that I've got coming that I'm very excited about. Other than that, get ready for Deadly Passions, Terrible Joys, which is coming out next week. I'm finally back on the every other week schedule after 3 straight weeks of posting, because it was Indy, and I just fucking love Indy. Next episode's on Camille Dugast, so get pumped.
We love Camille Dugast.
Yeah.
What else? What do I have? I feel like for this month, I guess my first shilling was if you guys, again, can comment and rate this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We would greatly appreciate it. I also have a YouTube channel. I just posted the Barcelona video. If you guys wouldn't mind watching and maybe subscribing to the YouTube if that's something you're interested in. I'm looking to make more videos. I've finally, I think, down-packed how I record my F1 one, so it's a little less of a... It's hard to edit when I yap a lot and have to restart the sentence. 1 star for Chap. Yes. Yeah, that's fine. You can just write that too.
No, I'm going to go 5 stars for Chap.
Thank you, Turbo. Thank you, Tiger. What else? I have something coming. There's something cool for 24 Hours of Le Mans that I'm not allowed to talk about, but that's all I can say. So hold on to that.
Know.
I will also... Wait, don't... No, you don't.
I'm not going to say anything.
And then we also have... I will be at Pikes Peak. I'll be working with the broadcast team. I'm not exactly sure my role is... Are you going to Pikes Peak?
I'm going to Pikes Peak, dude.
You didn't tell me!
I definitely told you I'm going to be
there. No,
you
didn't?
I definitely did. I'm going with Optima.
Well, my mammalian brain that you told that day didn't remember. Now I'm so excited. Yeah!
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm filling in for Dragovich at 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah.
No, something really cool for the 24 hours. Oh, and something also really cool. Okay, this is a lot, guys. I'm going to New York before I go to Pikes Peak for something. And anyway, did you guys know...
Good Morning America?
No, but did you guys know the F1 movie's coming out?
Ooh.
Maybe related. You guys can figure it out. You're smart cookies.
Oh.
So doing something for Le Mans. That Monday I'm going to New York. But did you know the F1 movie's coming out? But some people see it early. For reasons. And some people meet Brad Pitt. And then I'm going to Pikes Peak. So Ash is going to fight Brad Pitt. That's me.
I hope so.
So there's a lot of stuff going on one by one, and I hope to take you guys all through it. If you prefer Instagram, I'll be there. Discord is probably the easiest, is where I do most of my shit posting. But yeah, we'll make videos and do behind the stuff. Ash is going to Mets game. I would rather... No, actually, Mets game's not. I love baseball, but we know I'm a Yankees fan. I can neither confirm nor deny, but you all can figure it out.
Amen.
I wish they would let me tell you guys. This is like the frustrating part. They're like, oh, we utilize you for your audience. So I was like, great, can I tell my audience anything that's happening? So hopefully we get to do that soon. But yeah, appreciate you guys. I always want to try to vlog on YouTube, but I'm a terrible vlogger at a race. Because I have to remember to hold my phone this way after being conditioned to hold it this way for social media. And I'm like, hey, everyone.
I hate it.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff coming up for the month of June. I hope you're excited. I'm excited. And me and Elizabeth have to thank you guys for it all, really, for for reading our articles, for supporting us. We only get to do this because you guys have our back and support us and say nice things and tell your friends about us and all that stuff. So thank you, utmost importantly, for being a community, talking with us in the Discord, being interested in motorsports, sharing your opinions with us. We really can't thank you enough for having our backs. So
It means a lot.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Otherwise, chat, support local racetracks so we don't lose them to developments of housing and have to race in street circuits for the rest of our lives. Take your meds, go outside even for a little bit. If you can, touch some grass. Touch a grass. And we will see you guys next week on Tuesday to talk about all the things that we didn't get to talk about today.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day. Ba-da-da-da. It's only Tuesday. Holy shit.
I've been so off on what